Hey guys, it's Steve with Basketball with Steve. Today I want to talk about how the NBA can be competitive. The NBA never truly was competitive. If you look at the Bill Russell days, Bill Russell's team was stacked. You know, there were only like 7 teams back then. But still, if you look at the Lakers days with Magic Johnson, that team was stacked. They had Kareem. If you look at Larry Bird's Boston Celtics, that team was stacked. If you look at Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls, that team was stacked. If you look at Kobe and Shaq's Lakers, that team was stacked. If you look at the Spurs, that team was stacked. If you look at, the Miami Heat, that team was stacked. If you look at the Golden State Warriors now, that team is stacked. So the NBA was never truly competitive, but it really needs to get competitive because it gets not repetitive, but it would make the league more fun to watch, and it would bring in more basketball fans because instead of having freaking 1 or 2 teams, the only 2 teams in the NBA that are actually in true contention for a title, the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, the way to make it more competitive is to make it so that there can only be one superstar on each team. Now, obviously, this is just like a fantasy thing. This obviously cannot happen because there's a business side. Money talks, bullshit walks. That the NBA wants to make its money, which is perfectly fine. Everyone wants to make money. So anyway, they should make it so only one superstar can play on each team. So I'm going to name a few superstars and then think about what I have to say. So this is just off the top of my head. It's not in order of who's the best or who's the worst. So here we go. Carmelo Anthony, Dwyane Wade, Chris Bosh, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, James Harden, Damian Lillard, John Wall, like players like that. I may have missed a few big ones. Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins, Jimmy Butler, Derrick Rose. Well, I wouldn't consider Jimmy Butler. Like, that's the difference. Like, there's all-star caliber players, but there's superstars. Big difference. So it's all right to have a superstar and an all-star on the same team, but if it were so only a superstar can be there cannot be more than 2 superstars on the same team. Think about it. LeBron's on the Cavs, Melo on the Knicks. D-Wade stays in Miami. I know he's with Chicago now, but D-Wade in Miami. Jimmy Butler in Chicago. Dame Lillard in Portland. Curry on the Warriors. Klay Thompson on the Timberwolves. Actually, Andrew Wiggins on the Timberwolves. Klay Thompson with the Phoenix Suns. James Harden can stay in Houston. Kyle Lowry stays in Toronto, or maybe DeRozan stays in Toronto. Chris Bosh goes to, Charlotte. If that were the case, and then we just had role players, think about how much more competitive the NBA would be. Think about the month of March. How crazy that would be. Thinking like, this is a must-win. Like, pretty much every game in March would be a must-win because these 2 teams, they're going to go head-to-head. Now, I know there's going to be times where, you draft someone that's going to be a superstar. For example, Ben Simmons. So let's say Carmelo Anthony was on the New York Knicks. Let's think in the fantasy thing. So every superstar is on its own team. So let's say Ben Simmons gets drafted number 1 to the New York Knicks. So now we have Ben Simmons, who's a potential superstar, and let's say he eventually grows into a 25-10 player with Carmelo Anthony. So things like that is going to happen. That's going to happen. Things like that are going to happen, but they shouldn't allow Kevin Durant to go to Golden State. Like, that's not fair. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson, or LeBron and Kyrie and K-Love. Or D-Wade and Bosh, or Melo and let's say Derrick Rose was in his prime, Melo and Derrick Rose, or that should not be allowed. It's different if it's like, let's look at the Spurs for example. It's different, and thinking about it now, it can be unfair because let's say a team gets lucky and they draft a superstar, like let's say the Spurs. They drafted Tony Parker. They got Manu Ginobili. No one thought they would be superstar players in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. But they were, and they helped Tim Duncan win 5 NBA championships. 4 because they drafted after he won his first one. But you understand what I'm saying. So, if every superstar were on his own team, that would make the league so much fun because, one, it would show who's truly the best in terms of talent and skill and hard work and things like that. It's obviously not going to 100% show who's the best because you can never 100% show because teams win games. It's not, a player. That's why players leave teams to go to other teams because better role players means more wins. So if that happened, like, just think about the playoffs. Just think about, like, the month of March. Like, the month of March, every game would be a must-win. Like, oh, the Knicks have to beat the Portland Trailblazers tonight. Or, oh, DeMar DeRozan has to lead the Toronto Raptors past the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight. Or, oh, the Cavaliers will have to do this. Like, there's obviously going to be some teams where they're obviously going to be more dominant. Like, and those are, like, the real top-notch superstars. LeBron, Wade, Melo, KD, Curry, like James Harden, like the top-notch superstars. Like, obviously those teams are going to be better no matter what, but there should not be a gap where there are only two teams that are in true contention for the NBA title, because now there's only two teams. With D-Wade out of Miami, now it's just Cleveland and Golden State. There are no other teams. People are going to say, oh, the San Antonio Spurs. Well, Tim Duncan's most likely going to retire, you know. So, you know what I mean? It's just Golden State and Cleveland. And it can be fun seeing a rivalry like that, but it's also not fun because it makes the season boring in some way or another, because then it's just like, okay, we already know what's going to happen at the end, you know. So let's say the season starts October 30th, or let's say November 1st. We already know what's going to happen 9 months later in June. Or 7 months later in June. So we're like, what the hell is going on, you know? It makes the league kind of boring sometimes. Especially like when you have teams like the Philadelphia 76. Like, there should be no teams that bad in the NBA where they win like 5-7 games. Like, that's crazy. That should not happen. So anyway, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. It's been Steve with Basketball with Steve. Peace.